someone comes out of a youth entrepreneurship program, gets thrown into an adult business incubator accelerator, and is now the sole employee and founder of this organization. Like, that's a pretty ridiculous trajectory. But what I love about it is that it all connects back to that experience you had with Chris at Kamehameha Schools. And you've gone in this very different route, to the work, to be a college student, but to also be a startup founder.
Yeah, and one of the things that Mr. Blake always told me was, don't let your age stop you, and you need to be confident.
I am so excited and privileged to get to introduce Trinity Asing. I had the honor of teaching Trinity in a youth entrepreneurship summer program called Nalukai, and just created a friendship, to be honest, and watched as she manifested really our dream, and Jack, you were our kind of lead videographer and storyteller of what happens when you show youth the power of entrepreneurial mindsets and also give them access to a really awesome community of mentors and subject matter experts. And Trinity, connected her identity, her background, who she is, what she's passionate about, to kind of future business ventures in a way that I did not think was possible. And so, Trinity, thank you so much for joining Jack and I on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Trinity, I want you to kind of begin with when you started to have agency over your learning, whether that was in third grade and that was stamped out in seventh. Like, when did you kind of move from passive to active in your education?
That is a really good question. Definitely something I guess I've never really thought about, but I've always felt like, I don't know, I always learned differently, and I always sought after like more hands-on and like get out there outside of the classroom type learning. So I would say like from a pretty young age, like elementary, in at my elementary school, we actually had this program. It was called Tech Club, and it was this really amazing program where we did a full morning news, from the weather to morning announcements to the lunch, and then we also created like PSA videos, and like I strived in that sort of class, but not necessarily in like the regular classroom. But there I was like there early every morning, getting ready for the news, making lots of videos. We entered video competitions and everything, and I like strived there, but not in like a regular classroom. So I would say pretty young, definitely elementary, and then I luckily got into Kamehameha schools, and they have so many opportunities and like extracurricular. There I blossomed as well, just taking as many like extracurricular courses and like creative metals and glass and design and like all those classes that really fueled me and found things I was passionate about in those programs. So I hope that answered the question.
No, it's awesome. I mean, there's this amazing farmers market that you created at Kamehameha Schools. Was that junior year or senior year?
That was my senior year. That was another like class that was Malama Honua, which is a environmental science course, which was something I was really passionate about. So I was fortunate that they had like that kind of science available to us. And in that class, the teacher challenged us with, trying to find a way to make the school more sustainable. We started researching, problems that not only like our school faces, but all of Hawaii. And the biggest one we saw was like 6 million pounds of food is imported every single day to Hawaii. And we wanted to find a way to, lessen that amount of imports. And our idea was, the farmers market was called Hui Mana'ai, which is a completely student-led and organized farmers market.
Go for it, Jack.
Well, I mean, a lot of what we talk about and think about is how giving students agency over their learning is super powerful for so many reasons, but we tend to see these awesome outcomes when students are given that agency and sort of are able to take a lot of ownership over their learning and the projects that they do. And it sounds to me like that was the case for that project. And I don't mean to make any assumptions, but like, I don't know, how do you feel like the conditions were right for that project to thrive? Like what was maybe inherent in the pedagogy of like your teachers or the class that you're in? Was there any structures that made that really possible?
Yeah, there was structure and then there wasn't structure. There was that good balance. It was like, here's a project. How do you make your school more sustainable? That was it. That's all he gave us. You could do anything that you wanted to do, whether it was, some students, they researched why hand dryers are better than paper towels, but then really it's like more electricity. So then they came to the conclusion that reusable hand towels were the best. There was that spectrum of like, you could do something as little as this, you could do this, whatever your heart desired, as long as it aligned somewhat with making the school more sustainable. And he guided us, but he didn't tell us like what to do. He led us in the right direction. Oh, you guys need help with marketing your market. Let me connect you with the Kamehameha School's
He was an
media.
amazing facilitator, right?
Yeah,
Not just a teacher. I love that.
exactly. He didn't like stress too much about, writing a paper and making sure you had all this, and this, more as make sure what you're doing is authentic, make sure it aligns, and make sure it's making an impact and that you're learning something along the way.
What's his name?
Chris Blake,
And
amazing, super amazing teacher.
what made him? Because much of our audience, as we're not on TikTok, is adults and teachers in this space. What made Chris such an amazing teacher?
I think he really understood like that we had, along with his class, we had, I think, 6 other classes throughout the semester, each semester. And he understood that like not all classes need to have tests and like hard, really time consuming projects that aren't fulfilling. And he, most of his class was done outside. He took us out of the classroom a lot to field trips, which were meaningful field trips. We got to learn Native Hawaiian. We went to Lo'i, we went to Mala. We had our own Mala at school. We had our own aquaponic system in his class that we ran. Because he understood that the other 6 periods we were in the classroom, and he understood that you need that break. You need to get out of the classroom. And one of his favorite things that he would always say is like, not all knowledge is taught in one classroom, and not all knowledge is taught inside of a classroom. So I think that's what really made him stand out, is he understood our life and that we needed that break. And kind of like you said, he was a facilitator. He wasn't like a teacher and naggy teacher all that stuff. He guided you. He didn't tell you like what to do, I guess, was like one of the biggest things for him.
That's awesome. How was that class assessed? Like, did you have, because you said, it wasn't really focused on tests or quizzes or these traditional forms of assessment. Do you remember anything unique about how it was assessed?
We had homework and we had papers to write. And I know like for that project was the main project for the semester. So it was something we started at the beginning and worked all the way till the end. I know the final thing was a big presentation about the project, all of our research combined together, that we presented it to like the parents and teachers. And then along the way for that project, we had to build a website, that was graded. And then on the website, we had to do weekly blog post about like our progress, what we're working on for this project. So there was ways that he measured like, are they actually doing work? What are they learning? But it was through like learning how to develop a full website, and
Tangible, kind of relevant things that you
and
felt
things
like
that
were
like
big. Yeah.
now I had an experience
Right.
developing a website. Now later on in the future, as someone like me who went into business, I have that background. I can develop a website for my business. But not only that, if you're not like, you're not an entrepreneur, you don't have a business, maybe you're a photographer, you need to build a portfolio. All those things, were implemented into this class. So hope that answers it.
No, it's beautiful. What advice do you have for teachers, in high school or middle school, to foster the same community that you had?
I think just relating to your students and getting to understand like each and everyone is so unique and different, and that that's a good I guess I got to think about that more, but I don't know. I know that school is important and the baselines of tests and essays and those things you have to learn and they're important, but just understanding that each student learns differently and, has different learns at different rates and whatnot. So just being more understanding and getting to know your students and how they learn and maybe adapting different techniques to different students.
I mean, human connection was obviously huge for you and Chris, right? And the trust that was built, the excitement that you had was probably based on his excitement for the class and his passion for getting you out into the world. And so much of what Jack and I try to do at Unrulr is think about how to make education more human-centered, more joyous, more celebrative, right? And to try to fight, when assessment gets in the way of that, or when um, the time for academic knowledge becomes the killer of love of learning too. How do we do that? Like, how do we do that in schools and learning places so that kids aren't rolling their eyes in school and they're actually having a really good time?
Yeah, I mean, I understand too from the point, like my mom is a teacher and she's an elementary school teacher at a public school here. And, it's hard in the public school. And, I hear she's stressed out all the time. She has so many different students and all different, walks of life. And I hear it from that side, but I also have a sister who has some learning disabilities. And in the beginning of her learning, she would be very like, beating herself up because she just felt like she wasn't smart enough. And it wasn't until she met like teachers that tried to change, the process for her that she started to enjoy learning. We unfortunately that wasn't in at her school. We had to go out and find like a private tutor who made her learning fun and taught her the way that she helped her understand it through her disability. And it wasn't until then that she like really blossomed. She jumped up like 5 levels from like, she was at solo and then she brought her up in like a year. And I just like that was one thing I always thought of like we need more teachers who can adapt and they don't just follow like the system that they're told to do, but they go out, they do more for the students who need it. And I guess I have that point of view, like mom's a teacher, I've learn differently. My sister learns differently. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Kind of
Give
like
me
that
the Go for it,
personalized
Jack.
learning, kind of that personalized learning approach, right? That's like a huge buzzword right now, I feel like. How do you find, because you're at UH now, right?
Yes.
How are you finding the classes at UH? What program are you in?
I'm in the Scheidler School of Business. I'm pursuing a marketing degree right now.
That's
And
funny. I graduated marketing at Scheidler as well.
how did you like it?
I thought it was good. Yeah, there was a lot of opportunity to kind of explore these different areas and apply, I think, the marketing concepts we were learning to different areas that we were interested in personally. I remember at the time I was really getting big into sort of different sustainability practices and looking at like life cycle analysis and all these things. And they definitely supported me in that. So it was pretty rewarding to be able to work on different projects or assignments that that I was interested in, and I felt like there were some really great professors there.
Yeah, I agree. There's like so much opportunity there. They have so many like programs that aren't like just in the classroom. Like PACE is something that I'm looking into right now, and I really like some of my teachers. Some of them are a little I mean, it's just all, some classes you're going to love and some you're not going to love. Like this semester's a little tough on me. I've got like international finance that I'm like, you know, struggling in a little bit. But then I also have a class that focuses on developing a eco-friendly business. And like that's like right up my alley.
That's what you're doing right now.
Exactly. And the teacher's amazing. He's founded Oahu Fresh, which is a super great organization here. And yeah, just being able to learn from like also a lot of business professors. I don't know if it's just business, but in the Stidler School, they're from all over the world. So I've had a teacher from China, Korea, Thailand, and Europe this semester. 4 teachers were all not from, so I have that outside perspective. I like to pick their brain apart about, what it was like growing up there and what's different, and learning just their culture is really interesting. That's not what I'm learning in the classroom, but being able to learn from different cultures is really amazing.
Give me this, like, there's this ethos in Hawaii of Makahanaka Ike, by doing one learns. And to me, that totally represents your journey. Can you give us the journey from Kamehameha Schools to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I will give you the shorter version. I mean, it's a long journey. So, so yeah, I guess senior year, I really found my passion in that farmers market and sustainability. And unfortunately, it was a student-led farmers market. So once I graduated, I had to say goodbye, pass the torch off. Then I still wanted to learn more about entrepreneurship and was slightly unsure with what I wanted to do, for college and so on. I never really was big on college. I knew I just wanted to stay home. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to study. Luckily, I found Nalukai Academy, which I applied for, got in, which was that, I think, Aaron, you mentioned a little bit about it in the beginning. Through that program, I really blossomed and grew, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to build my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make a change in Hawaii. So I went through that program. Then from that program, I was selected to be a part of the Purple Prize, which is another startup. It's a startup camp or startup competition for people who have developed business ideas already.
And these are adults that you're jumping into the world of, right?
Yes, the Purple Prize was all adults who either have a business or have a business idea. And so I was paired up with a team there, the Albizia Project, because of my, passion for sustainability, and their business 100% focused on regenerative and sustainable. They remove albizia trees here in Hawaii, which are really invasive, and then they take the wood and they make products out of it. Like their newest one is a surfboard, completely made out of wood. After working with them, I shared my passion for farmers markets, and they shared that they wanted to kind of start a new market that specialized in regenerative goods. So we teamed up, we founded Mauka Market that year in 2019. Unfortunately, the very next March, COVID hit and we kind of had to shut down our markets, but I was able to keep it up and running, and we still host Mauka Markets till this day.
And what's your role at Mauka Market?
I am now the sole owner, actually. The rest of the team had, they've taken off to do much more. Since then, Joey and Christine, who started the Albizia Project, have 2 more businesses that they've opened: the surfboard company, a coffee shop, and my other partner, Matt, he's has 1,000,001 things that he's up to as well.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Sorry.
I totally understood that, Siri. Matt's the director of sustainability at the University of Hawaii.
That is
Jack, I want to pause for a second. So someone comes out of a youth entrepreneurship program, and Nalukai's cool, I'll grant you, an amazing 2-week summer entrepreneurship program, gets thrown into an adult business incubator accelerator, and is now the sole kind of employee and founder of this organization. That's a pretty ridiculous trajectory. But what I love about it is that it all connects back to that experience you had with Chris at Kamehameha Schools, right? That was foundational to the work that you're doing now. And you've gone in this very different route, to the work, to be a college student, but to also be a startup founder.
Yeah. And one of the things that Mr. Blake always told me was don't let your age stop you, and you need to be confident.
Totally.
He, we were scared in the beginning, are people even going to want to come to our market? We're students, are they going to want to support us? We can't really promise them the amount of crowds that other markets have. And he always told us, don't let your age stop you, because your age is actually what's going to set you apart. People are going to want to support you more because they are so impressed with what you're doing at your age. And that's something that's always stuck out with me because, like, even in the beginning of Mauka Market, like, with the whole team, it was like I was having to tell them what to do. Like, not tell them what to do, but like I would have an idea and I'd need to tell them, okay, I need you to do this and I need you to do this, to get the company going and flowing. And, that was hard in the beginning to tell like these people who are experienced, they have doctorate degrees, they have full on master's degrees. And I'm over here like with 0 degree, just graduated. I'm like, I need you to do this for me. It was hard, but that was one thing I remembered, like, don't let, just because you're younger doesn't mean you are not as smart or you don't have enough experience. You just need to be confident with yourself. And, as long as you're doing the right things, then, be confident and don't be afraid. Use your age to your advantage because, you are the next generation and they need to start listening to you. And, you might have the solution, they might not. And that's okay. You have these fresh ideas, and that's something he always like stuck with us. Like, you have the freshest ideas. Your brain is active, and you've seen a different point of view than they have. And yeah, that was definitely something that stuck from then to owning a business now.
Well, I feel like it's impressive that you've, like Erin said, stayed on this kind of one track. I mean, not one track, but like it's all kind of ties back to this similar thread of sustainable business, of local business, rooted in Hawaiʻi, of, kind of this farmer's market aspect. And so I just think it's impressive that you've kind of stuck to your guns throughout that. I mean, do you have any advice for how you sort of found that passion and, like, how do you feel like you knew that was what you wanted to do and kind of stuck to your guns? Because I think sometimes it's difficult when there's so many opportunities to kind of be drawn in all these different areas, but that can sometimes take away from being able to build on one skill set or, in one vertical. So how do you feel like you were able to kind of stick within that one track?
I think I just was able to find something that I was really passionate about, and that's really it. Like, I'm passionate about it. I really want to make a change here in Hawaii with, sustainability, climate change. If there's something I can do that'll help that's where I want to go. And, like this year, haven't really told many people about this yet, but a friend and I are working on starting a nonprofit that focuses in the same aspect of Mauka Market of regenerative businesses and how we can help regenerative businesses. So yeah, I guess to keep going forward, it's just like I'm passionate about it. I want to keep doing this because I don't want to get stuck in a job I'm not passionate about. So if I can make money to survive here in Hawaii with doing something I love, then I'm going to work hard to do that because, I love marketing, but truthfully, I'd rather be marketing my own products than having, to market, I don't know, anything else. I want to be marketing things that I'm passionate about. And if that's my own business and I can keep on working at it, then I'm going to work hard until I can, and I can afford to live here in Hawaii, which is a lot. So
yeah,
I'm my best.
What advice do you have for that 16, 17-year-old girl building that market? How old are you now?
21.
So as a 21-year-old, congratulations on being 21. As a 21-year-old, what advice do you have for not too far away, but you've gained a ton of wisdom in these, 4 or 5 years?
I guess, I mean, not to like sound repetitive, but find something you love to do and run with it. Like, if you love hula, find a way to keep working at that. Find a way to connect it to a business or, something else. If you can just find something you love, and you'll be able to accomplish anything. And I think too, just for me, it's like making a change. Like, I've always thought since I was like a little kid, like, I just want to make a difference. I just want to be able to say I did something that changed somebody's life or the planet or something. And if that's the same for them, like, kudos to you, because that's important. We need change makers, we need leaders, and they are the future leaders. So if I can inspire them to be a leader in the society, then I hope so.
What's your philosophy of education?
I don't know. Maybe could you like dissect that question a little more?
What does education mean to you? What do you want it to be? What do you wish it was?
I guess I wish it was like, for me, I didn't want to go to college. Truthfully, sometimes I don't even want to finish college. I wish it was something that could be a little more flexible and maybe more accessible. I don't know. I mean, I loved school. I also hated school. I just wish there was more of a balance. Like, when I was at Kamehameha, it was start at 7:30 and you don't finish until 3:15, and it was just long, grueling days. And I just wish there was more time for like creativity and innovation, which I'm actually seeing a lot of now. I actually just spoke on a panel yesterday at Kamehameha for their 6th grade class, where they're doing a whole project on each group. There's like different groups of the students. They get to create their own product and business. And at the end of the year, they're actually having a market where the kids can sell their products at it. So they're learning the whole business process. They just opened like an innovation center there where they get to design, which, like, I'm glad to see it's changing. But for a school like Kamehameha that has the funds to do so, it's easy. Whereas like a lot of public schools don't have access to that, the innovation and the creativity and getting to explore things that aren't just your typical math, language arts, so science, exploring those other, being able to be creative. And I guess, I don't know if that's a philosophy, but that's something I wish to see more of. And I wish that was there for me when I went there, having all those opportunities. I don't know if that's philosophy, but that's something I want to see in the future is, more access to that.
Yeah, I feel like entrepreneurship and, running a business, like, it necessitates that you're constantly learning. And I think entrepreneurs are sort of inherently curious. Where do you find yourself learning the most, like nowadays, or like, in the past, like as you've needed to gain skills and learn new things, like what have been some great resources for you, or ways that you've been learning new skills or tackling problems?
I feel like majority of the things that I've learned about business, I've learned outside of school. Ironically, like, I'm in a business school, but I feel like I'm actually learning more through outside programs like Nalukai, like the Purple Pies. I did another one, Rise High, super amazing. That one was for
Shout
business.
out to Rise High, one of the coolest programs and organizations. Gabe, everyone there, huge fan of Rise High.
So amazing. That was a group of already established entrepreneurs who had businesses, but we got to grow together and learn together from some of the top, not just like business people, but creators and designers here in Hawaii.
Human connection, authentic relationships, storytelling, like trust. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that, like, those programs, short. I think it was 8 weeks. We met like once a week. But like the amount of knowledge that I absorbed in that short time was like so amazing versus, like I said, I'm not trying to bash college or anything, but I'd rather be doing, if I could do that and get, the same level as a college degree.
Why isn't that college? Totally.
Literally, as much as the business school classes are important, I feel like for me, somebody who wants to focus here in Hawaii, I don't need some of those classes like international business. I I don't want, I don't care for learning about those things. I care about learning how can I create a business here in Hawaii? How can I make a change here? Um, and but yeah, it's a love hate for me in college and that sort of education. But yeah, to go back to what you mentioned, I learned the most in those outside activities, which are all free, which is so amazing. Like, how could you say no? I just take as many of those as I can. They're free knowledge from amazing people. How could you go wrong?
My last question for you is a very Joshua Rapoon question. And if anyone knows Joshua Rapoon, he's an amazing educational storyteller in Hawaii, who you, Trinity, have impressed and made great connections with as well, because you're a rock star and a badass. My question is: you have a teacher, you have a principal, and you have the superintendent of schools in Hawaii. What are you asking them to do? What are you pleading with them to do?
I guess just more opportunities for, actually, ironically enough, I was on a panel with this superintendent of the DOE, and I was really impressed with some of the things that he's working on right now. And, in some public schools here, they're introducing like a nursing program where once they graduate high school, they're actually already 2 years into their nursing degree. Like, that is crazy. They were teaching kids how to administer, like shots, and as what is the word? I'm blanking on the word, but they were giving, there were students giving out COVID vaccines, which is like crazy to me that they had that experience, and juniors and seniors in college were able to do that. And I think I want to see more of that, more trade work. Like, trade work is so important, and so many times it's stressed that you need to go to college, whereas we need people, we need electricians, we need mechanics. If there's a program that they can get a jump start on that, because you have to go into an apprenticeship right after high school, and now you're behind a couple years like college. But if they can learn those skills in high school, which I know some places are actually starting to implement that, um, we need that, because we need those type of workers as well. And if we can get them jump started so that they can start earning a higher salary right out of high school, then we can keep more people here. A lot of times kids go off to the mainland for college and they never come back because it's too expensive to come back. But if we can get them 2 years started, that's 2 years closer to making a higher paid salary and making it more accessible for them here. So I would want to tell them to implement more programs like that into the high schools. So, yeah.
I love it. Just a huge mahalo. Like, students make innovation in schools possible. Like, I know that seems cliche, but youth also allow adults to understand what's possible when they're trying to innovate, or they're trying to return education to what it's supposed to be, right? Which is about authentic learning. If we think about it in the context of Hawaii, it's about community and relationships and relevancy. And so you have done that for me. You showed me, as someone who has really struggled and had moments of victory, but tons of valleys. You have shown me what is possible when you get out of the way, when you partner youth with incredible people that want them to succeed and want to get their ideas out into the world. And so just a huge thank you. I owe so much of my trajectory as an educator to you and to those other Nalukai alums and other students like you. And I hope you know that. I hope you know the lives that you've changed, the teachers' lives, and other people in your lives, lives that you've changed.
Thank you.
Yeah, and same here. I mean, it's been awesome to see. I've at least seen you go through Nalukai and then Purple Prize, and to get kind of where you are now. So super impressive work all around, and always a pleasure just getting to hang out and chat. So thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for continuing to, help teachers and students and just create a better learning environment for everyone because it's really needed. So thank you for what you guys are doing as well.
You're welcome. It's really hard, but it's really joyous, and it's really fun.